I kind of compare Good Kid, Mad City to Illmatic in a way. 'Cause it's kind of similar. I would say it was written. It was written in Good Kid, Mad City is such a similar album to me. They're both like on the same level of what it would be, and plus Dr. Dre was on both of those albums. You know what I'm saying? All right, Torture Talk After Hours, you know what it is. So this video is coming to you from Marcus at Work Media, and DJ Head actually explaining how the pop out took place. So let's get right to it.
Welcome back to Marcus at Work Media. So today we got DJ Head. DJ Head did an interview explaining a little bit more behind the scenes of how the pop out took place, a little bit of Kendricks' demeanor in real life, what he thought of the beef, the situation of where Dot is right now with the GNX album, all of those good things he's kind of shedding some light on with this interview. So let's jump right in.
If you didn't drop the lawsuit, or if this lawsuit wouldn't have happened, if this lawsuit wouldn't have happened and he would have just dropped some music, we would have literally forgot about this shit. And it just would have been a new year of new music. You didn't have to do this.
I'm 100% in agreement with that. I definitely think that the reason why this is so still relevant is because of Drake. Like Drake literally could have he was so big at the time, he could have just kept doing music. He didn't have to stop. Like he could have kept doing music back and forth with Kendrick. But I think that he took it really, really personal. Kendrick took it personal, but Kendrick made it like he kind of made it fun. He took it personal, like I'm gonna beat this dude up just to beat him up. Yeah, like kind of like that. And Drake took it to the point, he just took it really personal. And I just think that he made a bad move by doing that, real bad move.
Reminding us about the battle. Wait, question for you.
What?
How do you think this will change the way that people battle rap moving forward?
It's not.
Because I think Drake forgetting about what he did to Meek Mill.
It's not going to change anything. This is literally not going to change anything from a music perspective. It's all self-serving, and I don't see a W at the end of this. Not from a legal standpoint, from a cultural standpoint. But I've been saying that since the spring.
So according to DJ Head, the pop out was kind of like a secretive situation. Dot didn't really tell anybody. Top didn't really tell anybody either. They just kind of say, hey, bro, show up at this place at this time. It'd be good for LA, right?
Are you talking to Mustard directly? Are you talking to Kendrick directly? Does he tell you guys, hey, this is what I want to hear? Or does he just say, y'all do what you want to do because you have that relationship?
From the Dot side, it was, I know you got it. Like, I know you know what to do. Like, go make history. You know, I did have a conversation with him at the forum the day of the show.
Really?
Yeah, it was just like catching up, and, you know, because we had talked during the whole back and forth. Like, we were in communication, mostly text, but I talked to him verbally a couple of times. And his temperament is always, if you watch the Squabble Up video, and you see his demeanor, it's just stone face, and he just don't give. That's literally his demeanor.
Yeah, and that's crazy because that song is turning me up.
That's literally his demeanor.
So they showed up.
So I definitely think that Kendrick's demeanor is a little more like he's kind of like at the point where it is what it is demeanor. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to get all rowdy. I don't have to get. He's definitely one of those guys that have this presence that a lot of rappers can't they can't capture. You know what I'm saying? They just can't. He definitely has that presence. He definitely has that demeanor.
They got some information, and even while the event was about to take place, there were some changes along the way, even surprising to DJ Head. Now, we know the pop out was one of those landmark moments for Kendrick, LA, Compton, and all of California music in general, really. He was able to kind of put on for the city in a real big way with all positive vibe, no drama, no conflict, no violence, and everything showed and displayed hip-hop from the West Coast in a positive light.
To the world out there that don't know what's going on, I don't know what you don't know. The individuals on these stages, man, yo, come on, man. Y'all don't know how we put this together, man, and it's unity. Y'all just don't know, man.
Which is a big thing from where they're coming from, because a lot of times West Coast music is dictated as gangster rap. So a lot of times that get the negative stigma is they all about violence or whatever. Nah, we about unity too. We about connecting with the people too. Yeah, we got different gangs, different communities. They normally don't get along, but Dot is making a point to try to unite a lot of those communities. If music is the way that that's possible, he's all for it.
He even said it on stage.
Yeah. I see a lot of people trying to downplay it too, talking about something. Oh, the gangs is already together. He ain't really do nothing. All these people really get along already. It's like, idiot. It's not about that. It's about seeing that people who don't know that the gangs members are together or not together. People don't know. So it's about the perception of it. And there's people that look at this and say, man, they can get along. That can happen. And that changes, if it changes one person's mind, that means that it could change 10 people's mind. But a lot of these dudes, they so caught up in social media antics that they don't even realize what they be saying sometimes. It's so pathetic, man. So pathetic.
End of the show. Like, I want the world to see this shit. I want the world to see what we are capable of, because everybody loves to paint the picture that LA is this. We took these rappers from we killed these rappers and we did this, but they never show that type of shit. Right. And so it's always the riots and Rodney King.
They don't show the positive.
Where Dot is in his mentality, I would be imagining that Dot, when he dropping these tracks,
yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know why people think of LA is, every time they think of LA, they think of gang culture. They think of Rodney King. Yeah, they're absolutely right about that. Let's keep it going.
we about unity too. We about connecting with the people too. Yeah, we got different gangs, different communities. They normally don't get along, but Dot is making a point to try to unite a lot of those communities. If music is the way that that's possible, he's all for it.
He even said it on stage at the end of the show. Like, I want the world to see this shit. I want the world to see what we are capable of, because everybody loves to paint the picture that LA is this. We took these rappers from we killed these rappers and we did this, but they never show that type of shit. Right. And so it's always the riots and Rodney King.
They don't show the positive.
The fires so it wasn't like F this person, F that person, and that was actually told to me too. Like, that ain't what we own. Right. We pro us.
Just to tell you.
Yeah, I'm telling you, from being from the East Coast, this is what we think. A lot of times we think that LA is just a gang-riddled, ghetto type of environment. Rappers get killed. Every rapper that go there gets killed. Nobody wants to be a fucking around. California is the total opposite of New York, and New York is this, and it's just weird, man. It's weird. And I'm glad that California has its own type of culture, but at the same time, it's still black culture. And us as black people, I'm happy to see that we're more open and more understanding about Californians. You know what I'm saying? Californians, whatever you want to call them. We're more open and honest about it. And I'm glad me being from the East Coast is up to learning about California and their ways about things. I really do. You know what I'm saying? I really do.
Where Dot is in his mentality, I would be imagining that Dot, when he dropping these tracks, he's dropping these diss tracks on Drake in the middle of the battle. You know, you would figure, you know, he would be like, you know, with Joker face, you know, so with the Joker laugh, finger on the upload button, and just loving every minute of it, because it's like, hey, bro, you asked for this, so I'm giving you the drama, bro, let's go in. So that's what we kind of expect of what it would have been like if we would have seen him during this time. But DJ Head tells a different story. DJ Head is like, hey, bro, I hit him the day Not Like Us dropped. And his response and demeanor was like this.
When the day that Not Like Us dropped, I called him that night. And I was like, yo, you won, it's over. You know, like I was just going crazy. Like, this shit is crazy. It's over, you know, woo woo. And he's like, yeah, for sure.
I knew.
Not even I knew. He was just like, yeah, for sure. He was eating food. Like
That's it.
He was eating some food. He was like, yeah, for sure. Like,
yeah, when you know you put that work in and you already knew what it was going to do.
It wasn't like excitement. It wasn't like, it was just, yeah, you know, it was just like it was just Tuesday.
Wow.
Damn. So he's like, yo, like, yeah, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I told you he has that is what it is mentality. And it's like, yeah, it's just another regular day. You know what I'm saying? He's like, he that dude ain't on my level. Ain't nothing to be worried about. And I think, honestly, that Kendrick Lamar isn't excited about smoking Drake. I think he's having fun, but I don't know if he's excited about smoking Drake. I mean, some people think that's the case, but I don't know if he is. But I do believe that I believe he's having a good time, but I don't know if he's excited about ending. As a matter of fact, I would say he said it in the song that he's not really. He said he don't have no hate and bone in his body, so he probably feels some type of way. He probably feels some type of way about smoking Drake like that. He probably do.
So yeah, that's kind of crazy, because I wouldn't have imagined that it'd been like that. I mean, when I hear it, it sounded about right. He was like, hey, bro, I'm used to the smoke. I'm from Compton, nigga. We get down, like, whatever. This is regular. This is a Tuesday type shit, right? So he goes into more detail about the landmark decision that Dot made in order to set this up. People think that Dot just kind of stumbled into this direction in this epic run that he's in, but a lot of the time, it was methodical every step of the way. DJ Head says Dot does not do anything without it being planned or structured out completely. So it's like how much it is, he already knew it was gonna go down. It's hard to say, but it seems like it mapped out perfectly, but DJ Head is like, hey, bro, it even go way back to when they first started. And he's kind of telling California's influence in music and how the West Coast got a bad rap with music, and a lot of people wasn't trying to hear their sound when they were trying to get off the ground.
Do you think Drake's position in this and how I feel the West Coast kind of got ostracized from hip-hop a little bit because of all the things you talked about is like us as a whole, West Coast hip-hop kicking that door down, that gatekeeping down is like, nah, this been our lane. We've been carrying this and riding it.
You know what's interesting? I asked that very same question. I asked all of my big homies. I asked Ice Cube that. I asked Dog about that. I asked Dot about that. I asked Warren G about it, and they all said the same thing. They just don't fuck with us.
They don't.
And that's exactly why.
Yeah, I think that the East Coast kind of gets it's kind of like the East Coast feels as though that it's Mecca of hip hop, and the East Coast feels like the East Coast started hip hop, and so that's what everybody's saying. That's how everybody feel. That the East Coast started hip hop. So the East Coast kind of have this arrogant way about them. Like, we're the creators, we're the sole creators of it. And we are what we are. And the West Coast, I remember the days of Ice Cube, Jack and Beats and all that stuff. I think it was they had a little bit different. Now, I will say this, the West Coast 100% created gangster rap, 100%. And I would say the West Coast is probably responsible for hardcore rap to this day is where it came from, because honestly, New York wasn't rapping like that back in the day. New York was political slash poetic rhymes and melodies with lyrics. The West Coast is street. NWA street rap. Wasn't no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You know what I'm saying? Straight up and down. Street rap. To the point where it's like, it was a little bit scary. You know what I'm saying? That's how it was. So I think their take on hip hop was gangster rap. You know, Ice Cube and Ice-T and all that. Cop Killer and all that. You know what I'm saying? It was different. It was totally different. We was more Fear the Black Planet, you know, and what was that? Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, and all those, like, you know what I'm saying? Like Run DMC and you know, and it was all about MCing on this side of the spectrum, or whatever you want to call it. There was more on the side of, they was on that side over there. So just my take.
Kendricks spearheading the West is so important because the West Coast do feel slept on. The West Coast do feel neglected by a lot of the main publications that recognize hip hop and rap music. So now they feeling like they got some life dealing with Kendrick Lamar and his run, that they're backing it up. I mean, right after that, you got Snoop Dogg dropping the album, you got Ice Cube dropping the album. A lot of the different guys from the West Coast and TDE roster is going up too. They're following it up in order to reinforce the West Coast influence in music, because they just feel like it's their time right now, which I don't blame them.
Artists talk about it, labels talk about it. Kendrick is regional. It's some LA stuff. And I've seen your rebuttals about it. Is there still regional music, or is it artists are making worldwide music? Like, what is it right now? What are we at in music?
To be honest, if I'm being completely transparent, like I told I told Dot this too. Like, I've been waiting for him to make this GNX album. I've been waiting for this for 10 years. Because you gotta think, when Good Kid, Mad City came out, My Crazy Life came out.
Right.
Two completely different type of album.
Yeah.
But people look at YG, like that's a West Coast, that's an LA guy. Kendrick was for the world. Yeah. But the world rarely gave us credit for Kendrick. They know he's from Compton, but when he's mentioned, he's not mentioned as our rapper. He's mentioned as just one of the greats.
Lamar, yeah.
And that's only because he's not publicly gangbanging.
No, that's because sonically he doesn't represent us in those ways.
So a lot of
That's a very good point that he made. I could kind of agree with that. I could give him a little pushback on it, but I could kind of agree with what he's saying. But that's kind of how it is with East Coast rappers as well. East Coast rappers like 50 Cent, for example, a lot of people didn't think 50 Cent was from New York at certain points. He had to say that. You know what I'm saying? And sonically, the sound of when people are from the West Coast and you listen to West Coast music, it usually sounds like G-Funk. It usually sounds Dr. Dre-ish, Ice Cube-ish. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like that. Kendrick comes out and he's from the West Coast, but he doesn't have that G-Funk sound. He has the sound of the East Coast in a way, to be honest with y'all. Because the East Coast sound was straight rapping, really beats and bars. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't really too much to think about. I kind of compare Good Kid, Mad City to Illmatic in a way, because it's kind of similar. I would say it was written in Good Kid, Mad City is such a similar album to me. They're both like on the same level of what it would be. And plus, Dr. Dre was on both of those albums. You know what I'm saying? But it didn't sound like it was from the West. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like he was from the East. Now, if you listen to certain albums from the East, sounds like they from down South. You know what I'm saying? What's his name? 50 Cent's first album didn't really sound like it was from the East Coast. It kind of sounded like it was from the South. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my point of view. But I understand exactly what he's saying. They definitely didn't give Kendrick and the West Coast their props for coming up with somebody that basically not eliminated, but took away from the sound of the West Coast, and didn't really use that signature sound. They did something totally different.
People will categorize YG as West Coast music, LA music, right? Which, okay, that's understandable. He does have that West Coast sound. But a lot of times, Dot, before GNX, before some of his other albums, his sound was so unique. It does have West Coast influences, but it's not necessarily the West Coast the general public is known to associate with the West Coast. Because Kendrick doesn't limit himself with his sonic direction. People, when they think of Kendrick, they didn't realize that he was from the West Coast. A lot of the newbies that's just now stumbling across his music couldn't place exactly where he was from because he's that diverse, because it wasn't the historical West Coast, Thiz kind of sound, West Coast, Snoop, Dre kind of sound. So a lot of people did not acknowledge Kendrick as being a part of the West Coast until this whole battle.
I think regional music needs to make a strong comeback because everybody sounds the same.
Yep.
Why,
in order for it to change.
Why are you from Memphis and you sound like you from Atlanta? And why are you from Atlanta and you sound like you from Texas? And why are you from LA and you sound like you from Atlanta? And why are you from New York and you sound like you from Florida?
Right.
I like listening to music, and I listen to Fat Joe, and I know he's from the Bronx.
Yeah,
it's
I know
very
it.
specific.
He's from the Bronx. I hear it. I know what he's saying. But again, hip hop is street urban culture rooted.
Yeah.
How do you know what's going on in the Bronx? Because Fat Joe told us with Bronx music.
So Kendrick is more of a West Coast artist.
I get exactly what he's saying. I mean, I semi disagree with that, but at the same time, I can appreciate that. The reason why I kind of disagree with that, and not I disagree with that, like I don't want it to be regional music, because I actually do agree with that part. But from what it is now, that's the part I disagree with. I think that a lot of artists don't really, they kind of, hip hop has become a genre now where most people don't have their own sound anymore. And that's why I say I agree with DJ Head getting back to that. But most of these artists, they're not from the streets. A good portion of them, at least in the area I'm from, they just rapping and they just want to make music, and they don't have the ear to the street. You know what I'm saying? And the ghetto has changed, man. It's not the same anymore. For some, maybe there's still some hoods out there, but a good portion of these East Coast hoods ain't the same no more, man. Like, they're just different. And it doesn't take away from what he's saying, because I agree with him. I definitely think regional sound is important, and it should come back, because you do want to have the Atlanta sound and people from Atlanta versus the Cali sound, people from Cali versus people from New York. Yeah, that's what makes it exciting. But I guess the key is, the key what he's missing is, in my opinion, what he's missing is that ship done sailed already, and I think Kendrick has the power to bring it back, and some artists can bring it back. You know what I'm saying?
That's regional with global influence overall. So DJ Head is all for bringing back regional music. If you was from Atlanta, you got that Atlanta pop. If you when it was Nelly and the St. Lunatics, you had that St. Louis vibe sound. It was unique. The East Coast, the Harlem niggas, the Brooklyn niggas, all of them cats have that East Coast sound, right? So it's like, it's a good thing that each different region bring in their own unique sound versus what it turned into when all the Atlanta had to run. It all turned into everybody mimicking the Atlanta sound. So now everything is kind of merged in, and it kind of limits the uniqueness of the sounds coming out of that region. So he's for.
The reason why I think that is because rappers have been put in this position where they have to be successful, and they're looking at it like they need a hit. And if they have to copy somebody, that's what they'll do. It's not in the case of they're basically saying that a lot of these rappers are not really doing it on purpose. I mean, they are, but at the same time, they feel like they have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that they're just doing it because it's fun or whatever. They're just doing it because they feel like, oh, well, oh, there's a new Kid Cudi song and it's popular, or maybe I should rap like this. Everybody's gonna rap like that because they feel like that's the sound that everybody wants to hear. It's not even that they're copying each other because they are copying each other because they want to be successful, but at the same time, they also are copying each other because they're looking at it like, well, this is what the fans are asking for. It doesn't matter who it is. They're asking for that, but nothing beats the original. I'll be honest with y'all. The original person of that sound, nothing beats that.
Getting back to the roots of everybody having their own unique sound. So with Kendrick having now that West Coast sound, he would like to double down on that for everybody to have their unique sound. So he goes into a funny background story. Why do Dot do all the voice changes with the cadence and the pitch and all of that? It's kind of unique to him, right? Because before that, a lot of artists, especially in hip hop, didn't really do a whole lot of the cadence and pitch change. So he shares the background story of how did that happen? Why did he start doing that? And was it intentional?
We would just go over there and be at Top's house. And in the back house, he had this little back room set up like a studio. And they was just in there rapping on that busted ass mic. Fun fact, the reason why you hear Kendrick start doing the little funny voices on records and you know how he do characters, that's because Ali, shout to Mix by Ali, that's my brother, like he started to tweak his voice because the mic was fucked up. So the mic was fucked up, so he started playing with his voice so that you couldn't tell the mic was fucked up.
That's where all those little...
That's where that started.
Yeah.
So
his
like,
little background type.
Little tweaks. Yeah, Ali started doing that so he could mix around the broken mic. That's...
Wow. So
that's very interesting. That's very interesting. A very interesting way of doing that. He used to mess around with his voice to mix around. That's interesting, and I guess Kendrick kept up on it. Yeah, that's very interesting. Very, very interesting.
it all came down to having lack of resources, just getting started, had a busted mic, and they were just trying to mask the audio for it to sound better than what it was because the mic was fucking up, right? And he just stuck with it, and it just became part of his sound. That's pretty dope and unique, and that's an interesting backstory on why that is and how that contributed to his style in present day. So now he's saying that Kendrick's name, Kendrick Lamar, he made an intentional, deliberate name change because he wanted to widen his appeal to, one, mark his music as being authentically from himself so they can place a name to the music, not just a persona, but he's also saying that, hey, I'm changing the name because I know where I'm gonna go with this. This is not just gonna be a LA thing, that's gonna be part of it, but I'm gonna go global with this, and having that specific name that's tailored to exactly who I am is gonna make it an important mark going into the next level of his career.
K-Dot changed his name to Kendrick on our show.
Switched it,
But
or
why
you
did that
suggested to
happen?
Kendrick Lamar?
It was an intentional thing because he knew where he was trying to go. Like, we knew, like, oh, like, he finna do some different. He's about to do something different. But I think the changing of his name was an intentional thing to kind of launch what he knew would be a legendary run. And I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it looks like he was like, okay, I want to be more than a rapper, right? I'm an artist.
I'm not speaking for him, but from my vantage point, there was an intention to change his name because he was like, I want to be me.
And it did just that. So even
That's actually a pretty good thing to do. A lot of rappers are very, very, very scared. Well, I'm not going to use the word scared, but very, what would they call it? Apprehensive. They don't really want to use their regular name. They want to go by a stage name because this way, if something happens, they can always revert back to their real name and kind of get some of the heat off of them. But that's what I believe. A lot of rappers don't want to go by their real name. Plus, it's their real. Some of them don't really look at their real name as actually a good name to be a artist or a rapper with. You know what I'm saying? Most artists are like that, not just rappers, but we talking about rap right now.
Back then, when cats wasn't even trying to hear TDE or hear Kendrick or hear Absol or hear any of these guys that are trying to make their mark in the city, he made that deliberate change and seen that vision from even back then. Now, back in the day, he also tells that, hey, a lot of cats wasn't fucking with TDE.
I don't know, like people wasn't fucking with us. They weren't. That's just the truth. People was not fucking with
They
TDE.
weren't paying attention.
They didn't care. They was like, oh, they weird. All that stuff. Like, you know, I've had conversations with the homies about that, where certain entities and individuals who, you know, man, that should, you know, because at the time you got to think the whole world is going oonts, 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 and they doing, you know, intricate raps and little melodies, and you know, they just doing something different.
Timing was
it's
different,
the blog
yeah.
era.
It's a known name now due to Kendrick and the work they've.
Yeah, I definitely think that back in the day, a lot of people didn't really pay attention to TDE. I was up on TDE, but I wasn't up on them like that to the point where I was in it. But I heard of them, but it wasn't like I wasn't up on them, up on them. You know what I'm saying? Back when they was just starting out. But see what happens when you hard work pays off, man. Look where they at now. It's unbelievable how they stood the test of time. They really have. So let's keep it going.
Done, especially with SZA and some of the other artists. But before all of this, cats, it took years, and nobody was really checking for TDE. Even in the town, they wasn't checking for TDE. They was like, man, that's them weird niggas, whatever. They wasn't really rocking because they used to that traditional West Coast sound. They took them a while to build that up to what we see today.
Yeah, man. You gotta appreciate TDE, man. You gotta appreciate everybody that they had around them. DJ Head, everybody. I'm so proud of these dudes. I'm proud that they got to where they at today. I'm proud of Kendrick. I'm proud of Absol, Schoolboy Q, J Rock, Ray Vaughn, Doechii, SZA, Isaiah Rashad, all of them, man. I'm proud of everybody, and I'm proud that they got to where they at. Top Dog, Punch, all of them over there. It is. I love their label. I love what they doing. I love how they kept it together. I love their multiple great albums. They have such a great catalog, man. Oh my God, so many classics, so many visuals, so many. It's TDE, man. TDE is better than Death Row. I'm just gonna put it out there. It was better than Death Row. They better than Death Row, in my opinion. Death Row had their run, but nah, TDE is where it's at. So, all right, man. Thank y'all for joining me. Appreciate y'all. After hours is over. Make sure y'all check out the regular show, 8, 12, and 6, Torture Talk. You know what it is. All right, man. See y'all. Peace. Bye.